Hiya fam, peace of Christ be with you. So on my recent video I came up with another idea for another video and the baby's still sleeping. The dishes need to be done, but I think I can spare like 10 minutes. The idea that we have a soul. To me, I'm not like a philosopher. I want to take philosophy, but my parents encouraged me to like focus on other things. And it's like if my dad studied philosophy and you have all these books and all these resources, like maybe my resources at college were spent better elsewhere. I tend to think so. It's like not 100%, but like I tend to think so. I think God brought a lot of good out of that experience. But today I wanted to talk about the soul. As somebody, like a common person who isn't really like a philosopher or genius or anything, I do appreciate reading philosophy though. So if you are really like philosophy savvy, that would be nice. I have book recommendations, that would be nice. I'm a mom, so I don't really have much time to read, but if I do, that's probably the way I would want to spend my time reading. Or if I guess podcasts would be nice, audiobooks, that sort of thing. But when it comes to the soul, I did read a comic book. I'm trying to remember what it was called, because the Catholic Answers printed that one. I think it's like a monk who made it, so it's like modern. Like back in the day, monks made illustrations. Now there's a monk making a comic book about philosophy and religion, and about Brandon and Irk's journey through space. Is kind of like a sci-fi thing. And there was mail carriers with a rocket ship going from planet to planet and space station and whatnot. But at the same time, there's this spiritual journey going on. One is pretty, for trying to remember who's who. Irk, I think, isn't really for it. He's almost like the devil's advocate character. Like he's not really for this journey. Brendan is open. He's seeking. He's trying to seek the truth about his purpose and in life, and the truth about like everything. And he goes on this journey, a spiritual journey, as well as this mail delivery trip for work. But at the same time, the spiritual journey where he asks questions like, what is his purpose in life? Is there something significant about him as a human being? Is there a soul? If there's a soul, and there's something more to realize God real, things like that. And I thought that was a pretty interesting concept. I like Volume 1 better than Volume 2. There's just like so much to delve into that before touching upon some of the things in Volume 2. But I guess, like he can only make it go for so long. But I did appreciate Volume 1 and how it touches upon things like the existence of soul. I feel like I hear more arguments about the existence of God than the existence of the soul. I know the things kind of go hand in hand, that if we have a soul, or there must be a God. It doesn't make sense that the soul spontaneously came into existence, but it doesn't really make much sense that the body, the flesh, the world, the universe spontaneously came into existence either. But like there's this understanding, like I am a spiritual being. This might sound a little kind of scandalous, but I did see a series that it is an adult series, adult cartoon, where there is this like scientist and he creates this robot, and the robot's asks like, what is my purpose? This robot is like cutting butter and spreading it on toast. But it, like in this process, is like, what is my purpose? And the scientist says, well, it's just spread butter and toast. And the robot's like, aw, like it's kind of teasing and mocking this idea that that this thing is self-aware. It has all this potential, but is confined to just spreading butter on toast. Like, obviously its purpose isn't simply to spread butter on toast if it has this self-awareness, if it was created with a self-awareness. Like, there's this weird contradiction, like, evident in this series. I don't want to give it too much attention because it is kind of like a irreverent, like, adult cartoon series, but it does kind of incorporate within it like these like sci-fi, like kind of risky, like raunchy humor. Incorporated within that is like certain philosophies and ideas of the secular world. So like that aspect kind of appealed to me, in addition to like the sci-fi aspect, and to see like the worldview of a secular person, in some ways, like hating God for existing. Like, how dare God create me, even though I don't believe him. But if, like, hating God even though they doubt God exists, but if he exists, he's terrible for creating such a terrible human being, and almost like having this weird scrupulosity, like, oh, if God exists, well, he must be terrible because he created me and I'm terrible. And that brings up like an interesting line of thought, I would say, because like an atheist doesn't believe there's a God, doesn't believe there's a soul. Most atheists don't believe there's a soul, although some argue like maybe there's some sort of consciousness that that's similar to a soul, that transcends the physical body. Like, once they die, there's like some atheists that say like their brainwaves keep on going and things like that. It just makes sense to say like you believe in a soul, and I think there's a reason for that, because you have a soul, but we'll get to that. But yeah, likewise, like, maybe you act like a religious animal because you were created for religion. You were created in a relationship with God. You're a rational being because you were created by a rational being to have for more than just spreading butter on toast. Like, us flawed humans could make a robot that's self-aware. Well, we can't really make a totally self-aware robot, but hypothetically, if we were somehow able to make a self-aware robot and say build it just to spread butter and toast, I'd say, like, okay, first of all, we're flawed human beings, and second of all, no, you didn't make it. If you made it so it could be self-aware, you didn't just make it to spread butter on toast. You made it to spread butter on toast. Be self-aware that it can spread butter on toast, and feel bad about it, because that's how you feel about your own existence. That you feel that God created you for less than your potential, or that God is bad because he created you, and you're bad, so God must be bad if he allows you to be bad. And it's kind of a theme in the series, that the scientist character kind of sees himself as depraved. So it's kind of like a sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. He thinks he's depraved, so he acts depraved, and just reaffirms he's a depraved person. He's a corrupt person. He's a wreck. But that's because doesn't believe in God, and the creator of the series doesn't believe in God. So I don't know. He can't really create a character that believes in God convincingly. He can expose me to the various secular worldviews, the various faults that secular people can fall into, and in doing so, make me realize that there's a need for people, that people are created with this desire and this want to be part of a community, part of like basically religious creatures. They want to have routine. They want to have traditions. They want to be a part of a community. Things that are religious is like, okay, what came first, the chicken and egg? Did humans have this desire accidentally in them for religion, and so religion was created by man, or was man made for religion, and that's why they're always trying to create some sort of religion, trying to form some sort of clique, some sort of cult of some sort. and that's why their tendency towards this cult. There is definitely one episode in this adult series that people buy into this cult and saying, it's just fine and it's well and good as long as they're happy and all that jazz. And we're going to practice this tradition because just because I think exposes like how void and empty pointless certain things are, but it also like reveals human nature, and there's like kind of observational comedy about human nature incorporated in there, but the atheists don't really have like the deeper answers. And of course this adult series is created by like a secular person, so they don't have the answers, and they can't really talk about religion intelligently, and they don't typically do it fairly. Like you can see in the real world how people will react in a crisis. For example, maybe in the series there was like a crisis and people are freaking out, and like there's no peace during a crisis that people can find with religion. This is like a whole other rabbit hole, but to me, like when I see people like this inconsistency, like, okay, well, you don't believe in the soul, but then you have this rationality, this desire for something more. You have this guilt. You recognize that you're not living your life to the fullest. You recognize that you have these failings, that you're not the best person that you can be, and it's tempting just to focus on like, be the best person you can be. But like the scientist character, even if he were to try, even if he weren't to be so black-pilled, so negative, and just submit to the idea that he is depraved and therefore should keep living a depraved life, even if he were trying to attempt like to live a more reformed life, he won't actually reach his full potential, because the truth is he's made for a relationship with God. But since he doesn't believe in God, and the creator of the series doesn't believe in God, like it's not gonna happen. This idea, it's even more impossible. I mean, saints have struggled with scrupulosity and thinking that God can save them. How much more so will that be the case with a secular person? Like, I want to be the best person I can be, and they can only go so far. By the grace of God, they are able to reach a pretty decent point. But eventually, you have to go into religion. Eventually, you have to believe in God to actually truly reach your full potential to be the best person you can be. Because God created you for more than spreading butter on toast. He gave you that rationality. You convinced yourself that you're just a butter spreading machine, that you just live in simply a material universe. But actually, you were created for more. You might think that you are limited. You might think that you were created as this corrupt being, this depraved being, deprived of your full humanity, maybe, but not totally depraved. And you're right in thinking like, okay, I can't really ever be perfect, because without God, you can't. And you're rejecting that if you reject God. But with God, you can. And it's really hard, even when you believe in God, to do it. So I can't imagine the case with atheists, but there's a desire for that. There's a desire to pursue virtue is good and is desirable for a reason. There's a desire to attempt it, but of course, if an atheist does attempt it and it falls short, it can be kind of frustrating. It could become depressing. So if you really truly want to be happy, you have to be open to the belief in God. But ultimately, you'll be fulfilled when you believe in Jesus Christ and in his church, the Catholic Church. Although there's like a billion reasons why people, there's a billion reasons why people wouldn't attack the church and be hesitant towards that. But it's like baby steps sometimes for some people. But other people, I feel like that's because you need Jesus. You literally need Jesus. You literally need to come to the church. Yes, they're flawed human sinners. It's almost like a qualification for the church. That's like, that is the whole point of the church. So to welcome in flawed human sinners. Obviously those who are seeking to repent, will that they automatically, instantly, ever stay whole and sinless? No. It is a work in progress. It is a long-term rehab facilitation. I know, but that's what we're called to be, and I'm so grateful for all the saints who can be that example for, like, it can be done. There's all these different personalities, all these various characters. My girl Saint Therese, God can do amazing things. And yeah, you're right. You can't do this yourself. I do remember, though, atheist mocking the faith by saying, like, if religion's a crutch, like, well, yeah, because we're cripples and God's the doctor. That's all I got to say to that. But to me, the focus is got to circle back to Jesus Christ. I feel like, as easy to say, like, wake up. Secular world, Jesus Christ is King and is Lord, and He is the truth and the way and the life. And if you want to truly be fulfilled, you need to believe in Him. It's hard to talk about, like, actually being a believer and living as a believer. Like, the internal battle is a bigger struggle. Yeah, it's like water off the duck when people are like, I disagree with you on that. Morality, I feel like I heard it 1,000 times before, but yeah, the best thing I can do is be a good witness. The best thing I can do is repent, believe in the gospel, and the gospel is that we can be saved, we can be redeemed, and it doesn't matter how distant you are from the church. If you're like an atheist or a Christian, a Protestant, or even a Catholic, you need God's grace, and God will fill in the gaps, regardless of the amount of grace that you need. And even sometimes some Catholics might need more grace than some atheists. It is quite mind-blowing. But at the end of the day, I guess I'm, like, so joyful and for God's redemption and salvation, that I want atheists to have that. Like, I've had friends who are secular, and I want them to have that. And I keep seeing like how there's so much misery in your life, and I have sympathy for that, and I want you to have the gospel. But if you see my life and I'm a wreck, you're not going to believe it. It's like, why should I be a Catholic like you? You're a wreck. You're miserable. Like, look at you. You're a mess. You're always online complaining about the church, complaining about everything, or being so sad, upset, and feeling so, like, ashamed and guilty, so sad, so bitter about the world, so sad about yourself because of the church, Catholic guilt, and all that, because I'm a miserable sinner. Yeah, well, what's the point of leaving atheism if you're just going to become a miserable Catholic? I think that makes sense. That makes sense. I think it's easy, though, to just focus on the negative and ignore the positive. Again, I would say, like, don't look at me. You don't have to look at me. Like, yeah, you look at me and reasonably say, okay, yeah, she is happy because of Jesus Christ, and it's maybe her own faults, her own weaknesses that make her less happy. That's, I guess, my experiences with Catholics. Like, there's good Catholics and there are bad Catholics, and I can distinguish the two, and I can see why one is happier than the other. I feel like there's also just, good Catholics. They're giving it their all. They're giving it their best, but they're still flawed human beings. And then there's the Catholics that we know are good. I'm so grateful for the saints. So grateful for the saints. I'm so excited for Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati and Blessed Carlos. Gonna be saints. Like, it's actually happening. Frassati is gonna be a saint. He is a saint. he's going to be publicly canonized and recognized authoritatively by the church as a saint, but he's in heaven. And he's just an average guy, pretty much. He's pretty cool and adventurous, but I don't know, like there's something appealing about him, like just, you know, playing pool with his friends and going on a hike to the top of the mountains and racing them to the top of the mountains and things like that. And loving his faith and boldly like sharing them and daring them, like, okay, challenging them, saying like, oh, if I win this game or if I beat you to the top of the mountain, like you're going to mass with me and things like that. And just like joyously sharing it. Like those are the people to look at anyway. But yeah, like the importance of having my self-criticism and introspection and Jesus criticism, having the time with Jesus, so that people can have one less reason to dislike the church and have like that one good reason. But ultimately, I feel like it's Jesus Christ himself and then the saints. Hopefully me too, but Jesus Christ first, the saints, then me and my peers. I hope. Thank you for listening. God love you. Bye.